Hi guys, let's look at trig equations today. I'm going to teach you different ways of looking at it and hopefully it helps you in the future. Now let's take a basic trig equation. Sine theta is equal to minus half. Now what you should remember that when we say sine theta is equal to minus half, we are actually referring to the unit circle. Now we know that a unit circle is a circle of radius 1. Now if we take this unit circle and place it on a Cartesian plane, okay, with axis, and the intersection of the two axes is the point 0, 0, which is the center of the circle. And if we say this circle is of radius 1, and any point on the circumference of the circle, obviously because it's on a Cartesian plane, can be denoted by xy. We've also concluded in the previous classes that the x is equal to cos theta and y is equal to sine theta. So when they give you an equation, sine theta is equal to minus half, what they're implying is y is equal to minus half. So if you look at this unit circle that I have drawn, and if you look at the y-axis, I've drawn a dotted line at y is equal to minus half. Now that implies that the solutions lie here in the third and the fourth quadrant. Now we can solve depending upon the different domains given, which is usually what will happen. Otherwise we'll get too many solutions, okay? And the domain helps you limit the number of solutions you need. So I've taken the basic one, which is 0 to 2 pi, or in terms of degrees, 0 to 360. That means 0 to 360 or 0 to 2 pi. Okay. Now, if it is obviously being sine theta being negative, and we also know, based on this all silver teacups, that sine is negative in the third and the fourth quadrant. This matches up with our diagram over here, showing that the solutions lie in the third and the fourth quadrant. Now we know that all angles in terms of radians in the third quadrant is given as pi plus theta, and all angles in the fourth quadrant is given as 2 pi minus theta. Pi plus theta can, in terms of degrees, be regarded as 180 plus theta, and 2 pi minus theta can be regarded in terms of degrees as 360 minus theta. So our first job is to find out, hey, what is this theta? Now we have to actually think in terms of standard angles that we know. The angle that gives a sine value of half is 30 degrees. You should memorize that by now. In terms of radians, that 30 degrees is also pi over 6. So let's talk about what the solutions are in terms of radians. So that's between 0 and 2 pi. So that's obviously third quadrant is pi plus theta. So pi plus pi over 6 is 7 pi over 6. And in the fourth quadrant, it's 2 pi minus theta, 2 pi minus pi over 6, which is 11 pi over 6. If they asked you in terms of degrees, it's 180 plus 30, which is 210, and 360 minus 30, which is 330 degrees. Now let's look at a slightly more difficult domain. And that will test you on your knowledge of negative angles. What if they give you theta lies between minus pi and plus pi? And or in terms of degrees, minus 180 and plus 180. So if they're talking about theta lies between minus 180 and plus 180, obviously what they mean is this angle here, okay? And if they talk about, that means in these two quadrants. And if they talk about 0 and minus pi, or 0 and minus 180, it's with reference to the negative angle that can form here. So we know that these solutions lie here in the third and the fourth quadrants. Now, if you're looking at the fourth quadrant in terms of negative angles, 0 to minus pi, it'll obviously be minus 30. And if you look at the third quadrant, when you're going in the clockwise direction, that would mean that it's minus 180 plus theta, okay? The plus because with respect to minus 180, you're coming back into the third quadrant, and therefore you're going in the anti-clockwise direction, and therefore it's a plus, okay? If you find that difficult to remember, just look at what I've done. I've written minus pi plus theta in the third quadrant and minus theta in the fourth quadrant. And so we've decided that 30 degrees is the angle. Now, if you're looking at if you're going from 0 to minus pi, that means you're going in the clockwise direction. Obviously, that 30 degrees is minus 30, and then the angle between minus pi over 2 and minus pi will be minus pi plus theta, which will be minus pi plus pi over 6, which is minus 5 pi over 6. Okay, so I have given you this little diagram. You should be able to actually look at it and remember it. Okay, so if you look at the solutions, okay, this should be actually minus pi over 6, guys. Be careful. It's minus theta, minus 30 degrees, which is over here, also given in terms of degrees, and minus 5 pi over 6. And then this one, in terms of degrees, will be minus 180 plus 30, which is minus 150. So it needs a bit of practice. Practice 1 or 2 times and you should be able to get it. Let's look at another example. Hopefully by then you should be able to solve easily. Cos theta is equal to root 2 divided by 2. So if you simplify that, we know that cos theta is equal to 1 over root 2. Now, as I told you in the unit circle, the x-coordinate is cos theta. And therefore, you can write that as x is equal to 1 over root 2. Now, 1 divided by root 2 will obviously give you a value less than 1. And so what happens is, if you actually know your tables well, you will, so obviously that is a line passing through the x-axis. So x is equal to 1 over root 2. And even just by looking at it, you will know, if you know these values well, 1 divided by 1.414, that it will lie about here, that line, okay? Otherwise, you can think that cos is positive in the first and the fourth quadrant. We know that, okay? First and the fourth quadrant, which matches up to this line that I drew, x is equal to 1 over root 2. The solutions lie in the first quadrant and in the fourth quadrant. And therefore, in the first quadrant, we know that theta, cos theta is equal to 1 over root 2 implies theta was equal to 45 degrees. And in terms of radians, that converts to pi over 4. Now let's look at the different domains and how the solutions work out. So if the domain given to you is between 0 and 360, or in terms of radians 0 and 2 pi, we know it's in the first and the fourth quadrant, cos is positive. And because we are moving in the anti-clockwise direction, the first quadrant, it's just theta, which is 45 degrees. And in the fourth quadrant, it's 2 pi minus theta, or 360 minus 45, which is 315 degrees. And so in terms of radians, theta is pi over 4, and in the fourth quadrant, it's 2 pi minus pi over 4, which is 7 pi over 4. So now let's change the domain to minus pi and minus 180 and 80. So if you're going from 0 to pi, so obviously it's in the first quadrant, okay? And so the first quadrant is 45 degrees, and in the fourth quadrant it's minus 45 degrees. Okay, it's always with respect to the x-axis. And then if it's between 0 to 180, so obviously 0 to 180 is 45 degrees, and 0 to minus 180 is minus 45 degrees, and those are the solutions. Just practice it a little. If you still don't get it, I'm happy to help you out. And maybe I have taught you a little more than you may be required to know about this sort of domain, minus pi and so on. But it is relatively easy. Have a look at the PowerPoints that have been presented and the YouTube videos, and you should be able to understand. If you don't, please touch base with me and we could go through it as a Zoom session. Thank you. Bye.